The cockpit of Alaska Airlines Flight 2059 was calm, just another routine night flight with the hum of engines and the soft glow of instrument panels filling the air. The pilots, experienced and focused, monitored their gauges as the plane soared smoothly above the clouds, high above the world below. But that calm was shattered in an instant when an off-duty pilot, Joseph Emerson, seated in the jump seat behind the crew, suddenly declared, "I'm not okay." His voice cut through the quiet, sending a chill through the cockpit. Without warning, Emerson lunged forward, reaching desperately for the engine fire suppression handles. If pulled, these levers would cut off fuel to the engines, potentially sending the aircraft into a powerless glide, an unimaginable scenario at 30,000 feet. The pilots had only seconds to react. In a desperate struggle, they fought to restrain Emerson, wrestling him away from the controls as chaos erupted in the confined space. Every second counted as they battled to regain control and prevent disaster. This wasn't a hijacking for ransom or ideology. It was a crisis born from a mind in turmoil, a sudden and unpredictable threat from within their own ranks. Emerson's words were disjointed, his eyes unfocused, hinting at a terrifying detachment from reality. The crew realized they were dealing with a psychological emergency, not a conventional attack. The pilot's focus was survival. Media. Pilots restraining person in cockpit, pilots focused intensely on flying controls, hands gripping airplane yoke restrain Emerson, keep the plane flying, and maintain control of the situation. Their training kicked in, guiding their actions as adrenaline surged. One pilot quickly grabbed the radio, urgently alerting air traffic control to the unfolding emergency, requesting immediate assistance and a diversion. Meanwhile, in the cabin, passengers sat unaware, reading, sleeping, or chatting quietly, trusting the crew as chaos erupted just feet away behind the locked cockpit door. Training and instinct took over as the pilots neutralized the threat, securing the controls and ensuring the safety of all 83 souls on board. Relief washed over the cockpit as the immediate danger passed. The flight was diverted to the nearest airport, an emergency declared. What began as a routine trip was now the focus of national headlines as emergency crews rushed to meet the plane on the tarmac. The incident exposed a hidden vulnerability in aviation, the mental health of those at the controls. It raised urgent questions about how such a crisis could unfold so suddenly, and what safeguards might be needed in the future. The immediate danger had passed, but the investigation was just beginning. Officials and investigators boarded the plane, determined to understand how this nightmare had nearly become a tragedy. The nightmare in the sky was over, but its impact would echo for years, reminding the world that even at 30,000 feet, the greatest threats can sometimes come from within. Before that fateful day, Joseph Emerson was widely regarded as a respected Alaska Airlines pilot, known for his professionalism and calm demeanor in the skies. He was also a devoted husband and father, living with his family in the quiet suburbs of Portland, Oregon, where neighbors often saw him playing with his kids or tending to his yard. Friends and colleagues described him as upbeat, reliable, and always willing to lend a hand. His lifelong passion for flying was evident from childhood, with his room decorated in aviation memorabilia and model airplanes. But beneath the surface, Emerson was quietly unraveling after the sudden, devastating death of his best friend, a loss that shook him to his core. Grief and depression began to take hold, casting a shadow over his once bright outlook, yet he hid his pain from those around him, determined to maintain a sense of normalcy for his family and co-workers. In a desperate attempt to cope with his overwhelming emotions, he turned to psychedelic mushrooms just days before the flight, hoping for relief or clarity. He later told investigators that he hadn't slept in over 40 hours, plagued by insomnia, and a sense of being trapped in a dreamlike, surreal state that left him feeling disconnected from reality. On the day of the incident, Emerson was deadheading in the cockpit jump seat, a position reserved for trusted pilots, highlighting the faith the airline had in him. No one around him suspected the internal crisis he was battling. To his colleagues, he seemed as steady and dependable as ever. His story is a stark reminder that even those who appear the most stable and put together can be fighting invisible battles, struggling with pain that goes unnoticed. In the end, the greatest threat to Flight 2059 didn't come from outside forces, but from within, hidden in plain sight. When Emerson lunged for the controls, the pilots acted instantly, physically stopping him from pulling the handles. Their training had never prepared them for a threat from a fellow pilot, but their professionalism and teamwork prevailed. They stabilized the plane and called air traffic control. "We need to divert, someone tried to shut down our engines." Flight attendants quickly removed Emerson from the cockpit, restraining him in the cabin. Emerson, now subdued, warned, "You need to cuff me or it's going to be bad." The crew managed the cabin calmly, preventing panic as the plane diverted to Portland. Law enforcement met the flight, arresting Emerson without incident. The crew's swift, coordinated response averted disaster. Their actions were hailed as heroic, a testament to training, courage, and composure under pressure. In minutes, they turned a potential tragedy into a story of survival. Emerson's arrest ended his flying career in an instant. He faced 83 counts of attempted murder, reckless endangerment, and federal charges for interfering with a flight crew. His defense argued he suffered a mental health crisis, not a criminal act. Prosecutors insisted the danger he created demanded accountability. The case sparked national debate about mental health and legal responsibility. Emerson's family endured public scrutiny and financial hardship, his wife defending his character while shielding their children. Ultimately, Emerson pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment. The most serious charges were dropped. He avoided a lengthy prison term, but his pilot's license and career were gone for good. The legal outcome brought some relief, but the personal cost was immense. Emerson was left to rebuild a life forever changed by one catastrophic moment. Emerson's crisis was rooted in unprocessed grief after his friend's death, a deep emotional wound he tried to ignore while flying. The pain lingered beneath the surface, quietly shaping his thoughts and actions, even as he tried to maintain a professional facade in the cockpit. Seeking relief from the relentless ache, he turned to self-medication with psychedelic mushrooms. Emerson hoped these substances would offer solace or clarity, but instead they unleashed a psychological storm. The experience left him more vulnerable, amplifying his inner turmoil rather than soothing it. Though he claimed sobriety on flight day, the lingering after-effects of the drugs left him dissociated, disconnected from reality and from himself. He moved through the airport and cockpit in a fog, unable to fully engage with the world around him. In the cockpit, Emerson's mind spiraled. He believed he was trapped in a nightmare, convinced that pulling the emergency handles would finally wake him up. The boundaries between dream and reality blurred, and his judgment was clouded by confusion and fear. This dissociative episode helps explain how a safety-conscious, experienced pilot could attempt such a catastrophic act. It wasn't a lack of training or knowledge, but a mind overwhelmed by pain and altered perception. Emerson's story exposes a critical issue in aviation. Pilots often hide their mental health struggles, fearing career-ending consequences if they speak up. The stigma is powerful, and many suffer in silence rather than risk losing their livelihood. The culture of stoicism in aviation can be dangerous, discouraging those in need from seeking help. Pilots are expected to be unflappable, but this expectation can prevent them from addressing real emotional pain. Emerson's breakdown is a tragic case study in what happens when personal turmoil goes unaddressed. His story is a stark reminder that mental health crises can affect anyone, regardless of skill or experience. The most advanced safety systems and protocols can't protect against the hidden vulnerabilities of the human mind. Technology can only go so far when the real danger lies within. Aviation's greatest risk may be the struggles we never see, the silent battles fought behind closed doors, invisible to colleagues and passengers alike. The lesson is clear: mental health is as vital as any technical safeguard. Supporting pilots' well-being is essential for the safety of everyone in the skies. After the legal battle, Emerson chose not to hide in shame, but to advocate for change. He accepted responsibility, expressing deep remorse for his actions. With his wife Sarah, he launched a nonprofit to support mental health for aviation professionals. Their mission: end the stigma, create resources, and push for systemic change so pilots can seek help without fear. Emerson shares his story openly, hoping to encourage honesty and treatment over silence. He argues that a pilot who gets help is safer than one who suffers alone. His journey from cockpit to advocate is a powerful example of turning tragedy into purpose. Though grounded, he's working to make aviation safer from the ground up. The Emersons are building a legacy of positive change from their darkest hour. Even the worst experiences can spark hope for a better future. The Emerson incident forced the aviation industry to confront a blind spot: pilot mental health. Airlines and regulators realized that focusing only on mechanical safety ignores the human element, Pilots often fear seeking help, worried it will end their careers. Emerson's case showed that untreated mental health issues can pose a greater risk than those who get support. In response, airlines began rethinking support systems, shifting from punishment to prevention. Confidential, non-punitive pathways for pilots to report struggles are now seen as essential safety measures. The incident accelerated efforts to destigmatize mental health in aviation. More proactive screenings, peer support, and training are being implemented. The next frontier in aviation safety is supporting the minds of those at the controls. True safety means protecting both the machine and the people flying it. Not all aviation incidents are life or death. At Anchorage Airport, an Alaska Airlines 737 was accidentally driven into a ditch by mechanics. No injuries, no drama. The mishap was minor, handled quickly and professionally, with no public alarm. In contrast, the Emerson crisis was a human emergency that nearly ended in tragedy. Most aviation errors are technical or operational, managed by robust systems. But the Emerson case revealed a deeper vulnerability: the mental health of those we trust to fly us. The lesson is clear: aviation safety must protect both the hardware and the human heart. Only then can we truly call the skies safe.